Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker. It's great to have you along this week. Our show presented by Meritus Health, Urgent Care, and Total Rehab. Coming up on the show, we've got our Player of the Week for the first time this year. That's sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. And we're going to go back a number of years and bring back a segment that we had a great time with back then in the day. It's called Overtime. All of that and more. Herald Mail insiders Bob Parsaliti and Kevin Dunleavy join me, and we start with football right after this.
When your family is hurting, you don't have time to wait. Act now. Visit Meritus Urgent Care on Pennsylvania Avenue. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Meritus Urgent Care treats minor conditions like earaches, sore throats, and sprains. Meritus Urgent Care also offers x-rays and sports physicals, and many prescriptions are filled on site. Located off Interstate 81 on Pennsylvania Avenue, visit Meritus Urgent Care. Expert care, close to home.
Behind every great child, there is a great foundation. Premier Martial Arts will empower your child and give them a premier foundation to success. Our instructors have the passion to teach classes designed to build premier skills. Your child will develop greater self-control, confidence, and concentration. Premier Martial Arts will take your child up the path of greatness. Call Premier Martial Arts today.
Welcome back to Inside Sports, and we kick things off this week appropriately enough with football. And here to join me, Bob Parsaliti and Kevin Dunleavy. Welcome back to the show, guys. It was good to get football underway in Washington County on Friday night. I say underway because for some games, it was only half a game that was played on Friday night. As for those who played the entire game on Friday night, Hancock won its season opener, beating Southern Garrett 27-18. And no surprise here, 4 touchdowns for Hancock, all of the rushing variety. Ian Mann with the first of 2 to put them up 13-0 with 3:46 remaining in the opening quarter. And then Mann's second of the night made it 27-12 just over halfway through the third as the Panthers went on to win and remain perfect in season openers under Todd Rupenthal, now 3-0. And Hancock will host Mount Carmel, team that won their opener, coming up this Friday. Smithsburg defeated Northern Garrett 9-7. And Bob, I know we saw some weather for sure that wasn't exactly optimal for playing football at Boonesboro on Friday night, but they had some poor weather conditions up there in the western part of the state too. And that kind of played into a 9-7 final, Smithsburg getting the victory.
Well, it kind of helped that Smithsburg scored all their points in a 2.5-minute span and in the first quarter, and it was allowed the defense to hold it on.
Yeah, no question about it. It's good when the weather's not good to get your points early because things are only going to deteriorate. And 6 turnovers in that game committed between the two teams and only 7 pass attempts. Again, the weather really factoring in there, but the Leopards needing, as Bob said, just over 2.5 minutes to get all of their points. A Bryce Scott sack. And then a guy that they're very grateful to have back this year in Cole Huntsberry, who went down with an injury last year, coming back, scoring the conventional points on offense. And that was all that Smithsburg needed. Again, the defense doing a very good job standing up against that Northern Garrett team, keeping them pretty much in the middle of the field throughout the course of the game. And Smithsburg, with an opening victory, will take on 1-0 Manchester Valley in their home opener coming up this Friday. Now, the game that both of us saw, Bob, Boonesboro and Catoctin, a 14-6 final for Boonesboro. Took them 2 days to conclude that game, but the first half started off with a bang for Boonesboro after they got a 3-and-out, send Catoctin off the field, and within the span of 27 seconds, it's 7-0 Boonesboro.
Well, they opened up with a 28-yard pass to Alex Wetzel. Devin Griffith got the start as the quarterback because they had a little competition there. He started out with a 28-yard pass to Wetzel. And then next play, Owen Glass goes 25 yards around the right end and takes the right end for the show, and there it is, 7-0. And that's the only time they seemed to score was at the beginning of the half.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, because they wouldn't do it again until the beginning of the second half. But in between, the defense was really taxed in the first half of that game because turnovers constantly put them back out on the field. I think at one point in time, they had faced something like 24 of 25 plays that had been run the Boonesboro defense was on the field for all of those. So it was almost a blessing in disguise that they got to go home and recuperate at halftime to come back the next day.
Well, they had 4 fumbles in the first half, losing 2 of them. But there was some very, very stout defense there as far as stopping that.
Well, 18 more plays run by Catoctin in that first half, but then in the second half they come back on Saturday, and Boonesboro does pretty much what it did to start the first half, as we alluded to. They go right down the field, and Alex Wetzel, again, a big part of the offense, saw that early with that one-handed grab he made, and then the touchdown catch gives Boonesboro a 2-score margin.
Coach Clayton Anders said that it was a flood pattern. He had 3 guys open on that play. It was just Wetzel was open the most.
Yeah, and Griffith still nearly overthrew him, which is very difficult to do. He made a great one-handed catch on that first one, and then, of course, the touchdown made it 14-0. So then a pair of Warrior lost fumbles kept it interesting in the second half. So they didn't clean up the error of their ways from one night to the next, but the defense, again, able to buckle down. Jared Tribbett with a late interception. And then it was Wetzel who kind of put the icing on the cake with a spectacular catch on the last drive for Boonesboro, which kept the football in their hands. So all in all, I think, anytime you try to build a championship team, it starts with that defense, which I think was on point all night and the next afternoon long for Boonesboro. But the offense still has some work to do.
Well, technically, a defense pitched a shutout because the Catoctin touchdown was on a fumble recovery that was returned. They played very well.
I was surprised that Catoctin tried to throw as much as they did with an inexperienced quarterback back there. But nonetheless, Boonesboro gets the win, take on 0-1 North Carroll on the road coming up on Friday. Kevin, you saw this South Hagerstown team, which certainly, as we pointed out in the preview, has come such a long way under Coach Toby Peer. And they went into that game with an 18-game regular season winning streak at Mervo on Friday, come up short 12-10. And it was really because of what happened early in the game that put them behind and made them chase.
Yeah, it was the special teams' first play of the game, kickoff return, 85 yards for a touchdown. And then the first time South had the ball, they've had to punt. It was blocked, scooped up, another touchdown. They're down 12-0, and it's 5 minutes into the game. And South was the better team on offense and defense, but they couldn't make up that deficit. They missed their home run threat, Darian Robinson. He would have made a big difference. He was a disciplinary matter, and he was not there. He did not come with the team. So it was a very winnable game, and they're kicking themselves, I'm sure, right now.
Man, it's so difficult when the defense doesn't yield a point,
yeah,
and yet you lose the football game. What did you take away from that game, though, in seeing South? Because we know how difficult the schedule is going to be this year.
They're going to have to beat teams by being a little more, conservative, sticking the ball on the ground. TJ Peer, first game back, he looked, after the seizure in the offseason, he looked good when he threw the ball, but there was a little hesitation when he ran, which is understandable. He faced a tough, hard rush from Mervo, but he stood in the pocket and he was good in those situations. He got hit. He completed some passes and got hit. So he took hits, but he wasn't really willing to run the ball, which he was really effective with last year.
Yeah, that really opened up that offense for them a year ago.
Yeah.
So South gets another big test Friday night at home against 1-0 Urbana. Yeah. Bob, you saw the Clear Spring game against St. James on Saturday, a real shootout, 41-34. The Blazers had dropped their previous 2 season openers to St. James by a combined 9 points, but there were all kinds of points to go around on Saturday.
This game was, I think, everything that I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be Clear Spring's running game against St. James throwing, and that's basically what happened. I thought that in the long run, St. James or Clear Spring would wear them down in the end, and that's what happened. I mean, they were down 14 points, they scored the last 14 points of the game. They were down 7 at the end of the third quarter, came through, and Joe McCoy was it again for the Blazers.
And Joe McCoy is our Buffalo Wild Wings Player of the Week this week. The stats on McCoy: 178 yards rushing, 3 rushing touchdowns, and then a fumble recovery for another touchdown. So 4 total touchdowns.
I think he was a little surprised he got that fumble recovery because that ball kind of squirted around and all of a sudden it was in the back of the end zone. There he is holding it. So he was a little surprised with that. But he really gutted that game out because he was one of the guys that had cramp problems in that game. And he went out with like 5 minutes to go, and they basically carried him out, and it looked like it was going to be over for him. And he came into the game with the 140 to go, scored the touchdown to go ahead, and the 2-point conversion on the same play, basically running over one of his blockers. And that was the difference. Colin Willite makes a great interception at the end of the game, and that puts him at 1-0.
So Clear Spring with just their 8th win ever against a Washington County opponent. Second time they've beaten St. James. One other game from Friday night, North Hagerstown falls to South Carroll. Only really one highlight in that game for North, and that was what helped them avert the shutout late in the first half. They lose in a game that was truncated to just one half. 40-2 was the final there. Washington County Schools overall with 5 wins in week number 1, off to a pretty good start at this point. We'll continue to follow it. Guys, thanks for being here. Kevin, I'll see you again in just a little bit. I'm back right after this with a couple of Williamsport football players in just a moment.
Yeah, how can we help you today? I really need to get back to work.
Whether it's going back to work or getting back on the golf course, Total Rehab Care maximizes every patient's individual potential, offering state-of-the-art rehab, including physical, occupational, and speech therapy, all in one location. Experts who take a personal interest in their patients' progress. Call or visit online for more information. Meritus Health, treating the community well.
Excuse me, you realize this television's on a channel with men in silk robes slapping each other? Maybe we could just switch it to where the athletes are wearing shoes?
This gentleman and this gentleman want to know if we can change his channel.
I love karate. He doesn't like karate.
What? No, me?
You don't like karate?
I love it. Are you kidding? I was telling you how much I want to join a dojo. Could you recommend a dojo?
Buffalo Wild Wings, 21 sauces and seasonings, tons of taps, and countless flat screens. Nowhere is sports more alive.
Welcome back to the show. We continue now with a couple of Williamsport Wildcats victorious on Friday night over Francis Scott Key. Joining me now, Dylan Alexander and Matt Malfers. Welcome to the show, guys, and congratulations on that win. I said Friday night, but ultimately it wound up being decided on Saturday, as it turned out. So, Dylan, let me start with you. Just how strange is that to have a game delayed at halftime and then postponed until the next day?
Yeah, it was a little strange. I mean, coming after halftime and noticing thunder and stuff, and they make us come back in after working hard first half, trying to keep the score up, and then having to play the next day is kind of confusing.
Matt, do you think that that helped you in the long run? I mean, normally you have about 20 minutes to re-strategize at halftime, and now you have hours upon hours.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helped. Our coaches went over film, and they looked at things that we could improve on. So, yeah, I think it helped us in the long run.
It was an interesting start to the game, Dylan, because Francis Scott Key gets the ball first, and they possess it for 11 plays, and they kind of drive down the field. And then Kyle McLaughlin, one of the new guys on the block, sophomore, gets one of 3 interceptions, really set the tone for the game. As a defensive guy, you know, you guys were trying to set the tone, and you did extremely well throughout the course of the game. But how did that play out for you from the standpoint of being on the field all that time, but then getting the job done and getting that stop?
Well, it was really good action. I mean, since Ryan got that interception, it gave us momentum and pushed us forward to work a little harder and to do better on the offense to try to get down there and score. And as you can see, we scored in the second half to win it.
Dante Duncan, with that hit that he made that gave you guys the lead at halftime with the safety, I mean, that was a brutal, jarring hit that he put on there. And really one of the highlights of the first half where the defense did play so well. How did you see the game developing from where you were playing on the defensive line? Did you feel like the Williamsport defense was in control?
Yes, I did actually. I mean, we're not letting them score and getting that safety actually pushed us to make us look like we're doing better on defense and making it feel like we have advantage over them.
And Matt, you've been a part of this team now for a couple of years, and defense has been a bugaboo for Williamsport, no doubt about it. How did you feel about the defensive effort Friday into Saturday?
I mean, it was a big part in the game, and if it wasn't for our defense, we probably wouldn't have won this game. In the past years, like first couple games, our defense, like you said, hasn't been that well. But, I mean, we came out prepared, I feel like, and every time we needed a big stop, the defense got it done, and that really helped us out.
Now, were you just trying to help the sophomores out by not intercepting passes that were in your hands?
I was trying to make the sophomores look a little better.
Trying to give them a little bit of confidence, perhaps, because you had a couple of chances to make picks. Now, let's go over to Saturday. You come back after Friday night, start out on Saturday with the football, and just march right down the field. How impressed were you with the way that Jacob Ball played as a sophomore quarterback, really mixing up the run and the pass. And the pass is what really helped you get down the field and score that touchdown.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. I mean, before the game, we were all talking. We said we had to come out the first possession, second half, and score to really make a statement. And I thought Jacob did a good job making that happen.
Dylan, how did you think the offensive line fared?
I think we did really good. I mean, we kept our guys in front of us. We made holes as the running wise, and we helped that QB a lot. I mean, we gave him enough time to look around, see where he could pass it, and we got the job done.
And how important was it after the touchdown run by Kayvon Carter to then get the 2-point conversion on top of that?
I think that was very important because if you see, like, if we didn't get that, it would probably been 8-7, and they could have went for that 2-point conversion.
They
and probably
would have
tied it.
Conversion.
Yeah, they would have tied it.
And when they scored late in the ball game, Matt, was there any sense of panic whatsoever?
No, surprisingly not. I mean, our team, we settled down. We knew our defense, we could hold them any other time, so we were confident that we weren't going to let it happen again.
And at the end of that game, you wind up getting out of there with a victory, Dylan. How important is it with a new coach at the helm this year? Obviously, he knows the program, but he's a new head coach. How important was it to get the win, not only for him, but for a team that has a lot of new blood on it?
I mean, actually, a lot of people, I think, were doubting us, especially with the new coach and as a team, and to show them that we can get that first win. And since it's been the first win for us for a long time, to show we can do it and we can keep doing it.
Since 2006, we've never won the first game.
Yeah,
so.
It's pretty big to get that win like that, and it takes so much pressure off of you to start the season with a victory, and you can continue to go up from here. What year were you guys born?
97.
98, 97? Yeah. Well, it had been since 1999 since Williamsport had a winning record, something you accomplished last year. So obviously that's one goal this year, but certainly looking for bigger and better things here as the season goes along. You get Century coming up on Friday night. Best of luck to you guys the rest of the way this season, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be back right after this. I'll continue with Kevin Dunleavy from the Herald Mail. He makes a return appearance now as we'll talk about the county soccer tournament in just a moment.
When your family is hurting, you don't have time to wait. Act now. Visit Meritus Urgent Care on Pennsylvania Avenue. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Meritus Urgent Care treats minor conditions like earaches, sore throats, and sprains. Meritus Urgent Care also offers x-rays and sports physicals, and many prescriptions are filled on site. Located off Interstate 81 on Pennsylvania Avenue, visit Meritus Urgent Care. Expert care, close to home.
Behind every great child, there is a great foundation. Premier Martial Arts will empower your child and give them a premier foundation to success. Our instructors have the passion to teach classes designed to build premier skills. Your child will develop greater self-control, confidence, and concentration. Premier Martial Arts will take your child up the path of greatness. Call Premier Martial Arts today.
Welcome back to Inside Sports, and it's time to talk Washington County Public Schools soccer tournament action now. And joining me is Kevin Dunleavy. Kevin, you saw all of the boys' action from Saturday, and it started with Williamsport against Smithsburg.
Yeah, Williamsport, new coach Chris Downs is stepping into a pretty good situation, it looks like. A lot of young players played last year, and they really showed some improvement on Saturday. They won 3-0, and it was really never in doubt. Smithsburg has lost a lot of players, and it was pretty much a mismatch from the start.
Yeah, 3-0 final for Williamsport, so they advance and continue on with the championship rounds still to come. In game number 2, it was a very tight game between Clear Spring and North Hagerstown, and the Blazers missing Jarrett Lozich, as we talked about in the preview. He was there, but not in uniform, and the goal came pretty much in the early going in that match, and all set up by a penalty.
Yep, Brady Rohr scored it, and he said afterwards he's confident on penalty kicks. He never has any doubt they're going to go in, and I guess that's the way you have to approach them. And Clear Spring had a lot of chances in that game. The other striker, Dalton Myers, he set up a lot of stuff with his speed, but they couldn't get anything past the goalie, and some off-target shots. Looked like they weren't quite in sync this year, but I'm sure that'll come because Clear Spring has some talent, and Ian Hose at the back end is really a good goalie, and it'll be interesting to see in the next round, Ian Hose against Jarrett Rickards of Boonesboro, which will be a really nice matchup.
Yeah, those are two of the premier goalkeepers in Washington County for sure. But before we leave that Clear Spring game, I thought North Hagerstown really acquitted themselves well in that game. Yes, they didn't score a goal. They lose 1-0. The only goal, as we said, on a penalty kick. They provided a little excitement late in the game. Alamzan Yakazov with a free kick. The ball came right back to him, and he put it in the net, and North there for a fleeting moment thought that they had tied the game, but it was an offsides call.
Yeah, Coach Pete Grunberg he's assembling a team with guys from a lot of different classes, so that's a tough mix. 3 freshmen are starting, but there's a lot of talent to work with, and it looks like they've got a chance to be pretty good by the end of the year if he can blend those elements together.
Always tough in 3A and 3A West in particular, but nonetheless, I think they will get better, and they'll win some games as the season goes along. So we had Williamsport moving into a potential championship round along with Clear Spring, and then the final game of the day, we had the reigning and defending champions in Boonesboro against South Hagerstown, and that turned out to be a stellar match.
Yeah, that was a great game. Without a goal scored in the regulation, it was just up and down and a lot of chances and a lot of great connections, and it probably was it definitely was the best game of the 3 on the boys' side. And I think both teams will have pretty good seasons. Boonesboro's lost a lot of players, but Rickards is a good place to start as a guy to lead your team back. And it looks like some of those replacements, the young players have some talent, so they may come along faster than people think. And then South, definitely a much improved team. Cole Mills, the Manic
boys,
triplets,
for sure.
I mean, they're all making really good connections and look like they've played together for a while, which hasn't always been the case at South. They've sometimes looked like it's been a hard mixture of talent.
They look like a cohesive unit on Saturday. So both of those teams then get into the championship round, which will give us the matchups for this coming Saturday, which would be
Williamsport will play South Hagerstown, and to me that's a toss-up if South plays as well as they did Saturday, and then the other semifinal will be Boonesboro versus Clear Spring, and that's the one we mentioned with the great goalkeeping matchup, and should be fun.
Over on the girls' side of the draw, North Hagerstown defeated Clear Spring in the first game of the day 2-0, and it was a scoreless game at halftime, but then North was really firing up a shooting gallery in the second half against Clear Spring, and Lexi Pate scores both of the goals there. Clear Spring had one real opportunity, Gabby Conrad with a shot that Madison Foltz made a sensational save on, but Pate, just one of the girls for North who was able to put the ball on the net in the second half. I mean, shots were 27-6. I mean, that's pretty decisive in North Hagerstown's favor there. Conrad, by the way, injured in that game, and she's going to see an orthopedist from what I understand this week. So hopefully a good prognosis coming out of that, but did not look good as she had to be carried off the field in that game. Now, Williamsport and Smithsburg, this is one that I think everybody pointed to on the girls' side, and I don't think it disappointed at all. Kara Poole for Smithsburg scoring a goal to give them a 1-0 lead. That was in the 60th minute. And then about 7 minutes later, Sydney Hawkinsmith scores for Williamsport off of a corner kick to tie the game. And that's what set it all into motion, going to penalty kicks for to decide this whole thing. And right there, it was all Williamsport from that point forward as they outscored Smithsburg in penalty kicks 4-1. The only thing that Coach Bodner apparently hasn't been practicing with his team is the celebration after you make that final penalty kick, because they were kind of stunned that they had won the game. There was a bit of a delay before they jumped into celebration mode. But so North moved on. Williamsport moved on. Smithsburg also would move on because then Boonesboro would win decisively over South Hagerstown in the nightcap. In that match, Emma Lang with a goal less than a minute in. That was 1 of 2 for her in the game. And Emily Reineman also had a couple of goals. So that sets up Boonesboro, Smithsburg, and North Hagerstown and Williamsport. Those are a couple of great games coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. Williamsport versus North. North may be the powerhouse of the county this year, but they'll get a tough test against Williamsport. Williamsport has a new coach, John Bodner. They're replacing a lot of girls who graduated, but it looks like they're pretty good position to challenge Williamsport. And then Smithsburg, Boonesboro, new coach Chris Lance has done a nice turnaround so far, and we'll see if if they're the real deal when they play Smithsburg, because we know Smithsburg's good.
So the boys will compete at Clear Spring and the girls at Williamsport. That is on Saturday. We'll take a brief time out here. We'll come back and do overtime. Kevin and I will rejoin you in just a moment.
Behind every great child, there is a great foundation. Premier Martial Arts will empower your child and give them a premier foundation to success. Our instructors have the passion to teach classes designed to build premier skills. Your child will develop greater self-control, confidence, and concentration. Premier Martial Arts will take your child up the path of greatness. Call Premier Martial Arts today.
Saturday, September 26th, Budweiser presents Fairgrounds Country Fest with Travis Tritt at Hagerstown's Fairgrounds Park. Spend a day in the country with Travis Tritt and friends, Craig Wayne Boyd, winner of The Voice, Janet Kramer, Davison Brothers Band, Lindsay Highlander, and more. Saturday, September 26th at Fairgrounds Country Fest. Gates open at 11:45 a.m. Tickets starting at $30 and are on sale now at fairgroundsfest.com. Limited number of tickets available. Details and tickets online at fairgroundsfest.com.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We're reintroducing a segment that we used to do and have a lot of fun with just because of the name. It's Overtime. And here to start it off, Kevin Dunleavy.
Thank you, Wes. 3 cheers for Bryce Harper, not for his MVP season, but for his ripping of Nationals fans, many who left in the 7th inning of the Nats' 8-5 loss Monday to the Mets. I'm with you on this, Bryce. I, too, am sick of these front-running, Johnny-come-lately, IPA sipping, OPS quoting, Fitbit wearing, sweater tied around their necks Nats fans. Where on a Labor Day afternoon did these people need to go? Yoga class? A wine tasting? Was there a sale at Wegmans? A new episode of Girls coming on HBO? Remember the Nats-Giants playoff game last year? By the time it was over, after 17 innings, Nationals Park was less than half full. That was embarrassing. Would that have happened in Baltimore, Pittsburgh, or any other major league city? Of course not. But maybe this is what to expect when you live in a city of transients. Have you ever heard these Nationals radio ads? They are loathsome. The worst one is where they talk about a powerful CEO who makes a mad dash to the Metro to get to the game in time to get his bobblehead. Let me tell you something. These people, these powerful CEOs, those people in the best seats, they're the first ones to bail when things go south. The only mad dash they make is to the exits. Come on, DC, it's time to support your team, not abandon it when it's playing its most important series of the year.
You know what I take away from all of that? Did I miss a sale at Wegmans on Labor Day? I don't know. I don't know. If I did, I'm upset. As documented, the Washington County Public Schools soccer tournament began its 17th year of competition this past Saturday. What you may or may not know is that the annual event is the brainchild of current South Hagerstown Athletic Director Mike Tesla, a former soccer coach and Division I college player who will forever love the game and advocate for it. And that's why Mike started the tourney, as he says, way back when. To be specific, the year was 1999. Since then, 5 county schools have won the boys' championship and 4 have captured the girls' title. To this point, North Hagerstown, South's arch rival, has put the screws to everybody else. The Hubs have hoisted the trophy on both sides 8 times each, 5 times more than any other school. In fact, North won 4 of the first 5 boys' county titles and strung together 6 straight girls' championships from 2004 to 2009. Now, while the Hubs have thrived, Tesla's Crosstown Rebels, well, have not. South County Tournament Championship grand total to date, 0, whereas the soccer vernacular goes, 0. And after Saturday's results, the girls will retain their goose egg. However, the boys' quest for that elusive title remains alive. I know everybody possesses his or her own school loyalty, but wouldn't it be nice, and isn't it the slightest bit overdue, to see the Rebels at least get to play for the plaque Tesla hands out every year? Not even that has ever happened. Let me be clear, Mike has never and will never make this tournament about him, but my question is, what has he done to deserve this fate? Well, that's right, he created it. Almost like Frankenstein and the monster. Man, it's just been one of those runs, unfortunately. I don't know how you explain that. Kevin, thanks so much for being here.
Sure, Wes. Thank you.
Overtime is back. Isn't that fun to say? Overtime. See, it's all in the way you say it. It's been a terrific show here. Week number 2 is in the books for us, brought to you in part by Meritus Health and Urgent Care and Total Rehab. We'll rejoin you next week with much more sports action, including Week 2's football and a whole cavalcade more from the county here on Inside Sports. Until then, Wes Decker saying so long, and I'll see you on the inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your